And while we'll let you calls, because we have an open line, you can call us and raise any issue that you would like to talk about. Something, of course, in the national interest, regional, something you noticed international arena. Certainly do give us a call. We're standing by to hear from you. Mr. Jackie Kramer, we have a little bio here of the awardees, which we can share with you for those who may not know these people well. We may have heard their names, but don't know much about them. We have compliments of Government House. We have before us the short profile of Mr. Jackie Kramer. What it says, his early schooling was in St. Kitts, the Fiji Islands, and Tonga. The secondary schools were Lodge School in Barbados and Queen's Royal College in Trinidad and Tobago. He's been associated with business and commerce in St. Kitts and Nevis, former director of A.M. Losada, which is one of the leading business places in Bastia. Mr. Kramer is also one of the founders of TDC, that's St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla Trading Company Limited, the largest commercial entity in St. Kitts and Nevis, we're told. He's also director of several organizations. He's a director of the Ocean Terrace Inn, which is also a subsidiary of TDC. And his activities include membership of the Public and Police Service Commissions, and is a former chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union Authority, the forerunner of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Mr. Kramer is a chartered member of the St. Kitts Rotary Club from its inception in 1969, is a former JC Senator, Honorary Consul for Israel, Warden for Canada. Mr. Kramer is a keen promoter. I beg your pardon, Mr. Kramer is a keen promoter of national development and has been instrumental in supporting areas of national endeavor. Mr. Jackie Kramer is therefore presented with the award of Star of Merit for long and meritorious service. So congratulations, Mr. Kramer, for a job well done.
I'll take a small.
XXL, that's the size for me.
Flow's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flow's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Imagine a place that has all that you need, all of the things for your business to succeed. Furniture, copiers, laptops and more. TDC Business Center is your #1 store. Print and copy and scan and fax. Our copy center does all of that. If you're having a party and you need chairs and tents, we've got all your needs at Grand Rentals for rent. The TDC Business Center has everything your business needs. Superior copy and printing services, business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
You're tuning to Win FM 90.9. Our numbers are 4660989, 6620989, 7620989. If you're having a difficulty getting through to 4660989, please try 7620989. Well, we don't have any callers at the moment. Earlier on in the week, we were talking about the Jamaica CARICOM Commission. And I just say that, here comes a call. So let's go to that caller, hear what this caller has to say. Call you live and on the air, and a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Backus.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you.
Okay, I saw a story on Win FM concerning the supervisor of elections. I think he was responding to concerns expressed by the opposition. I was somewhat disappointed in the supervisor's response. I know I think it's a civil service position. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And as such, I can understand why Mr. Bailey would be guarded in his comments. Okay, he knows around here if you stick your neck out too far, you're likely to get it cut off by the powers that be. But on the conflict of interest accusations, he could have referred, even if he didn't want to answer it directly, he could have referred the reporter to the relevant authorities for him to follow up and have that accusation addressed, okay, because it's a serious one. It affects his position as an honest broker, and it has implications for the functioning of that all-important office, okay? The supervisor of elections, I think, should not be just another bureaucrat who give us the usual stonewalling and doublespeak and legalese like, there's no requirement, that sort of thing. Okay? That just causes the issue. The electoral office is too critical to our democracy to operate like that. Okay? And the supervisor should see his role as the ultimate arbiter between the contesting parties. And he should go above and beyond what is required to ensure that all issues are addressed and all parties have confidence in the integrity of the office. Okay? He should be both fair and fearless and should keep government ministers at arm's length and report only to the Electoral Commission, which itself needs to be a bit more independent. Okay, that really needs to be an independent body. Not responding to official letters sent from any party is unacceptable. Even if he's absolutely convinced that he's acting in compliance with the electoral laws, it should be incumbent on him to explain what he's doing and facilitate the party's request, even if he's not required to do so. Okay, the lists do need to be purged and cleaned up, and the supervisor is doing the right thing in this respect. But being right does not give you the right to be arrogant as well. Okay, simply because you are going up the right way on 4th Street, for instance, that does not give you the right to slam into a car approaching you from the other direction. Okay, we should use discretion and common sense at all times. Okay, if the information that the party is asking for, like, a list of names removed from the list, okay, or objections that were made. What is so difficult in providing that? He has the information. It's not like it's going to require some tremendous outlay of resources to get it. Why not just provide it? To say that the party should go and do their homework sounds kind of patronizing and repugnant and high-handed to me. Okay, those are characteristics of autocrats who abuse the power that they are vested with. And I know Mr. Bailey is not like that. Okay? This is one department that should be open to public scrutiny, right? We should have total transparency and absolutely no secrecy, even in the absence of freedom of information legislation. Okay? The supervisor of elections should not use the law as a fig leaf. Okay? He should run the department fairly, openly, total transparency, okay? Because the Constitution is on his side. So he doesn't really have to report to even the Attorney General. I think that was the objection made. I think he only has to report to the Electoral Commission. But, he should really take his role seriously and be totally fair and keep everybody at arm's length. Explain what he's doing, that people have confidence in the whole process, okay? so that there's no court cases and allegations and that sort of thing after any election that we have. Okay, just an observation.
All right, just a quick question or two before you go. The lines are not very busy at the moment. I'm not holding any brief for the supervisory elections. He can speak for himself, but I'm speaking broadly in terms of electoral reform. St. Kitts and Nevis, over the years, since I've been around a little while now, we've always had a difficulty in getting information from the electoral office, those of us who work in the media, who have tried to get answers to questions. That has always been an issue, getting someone to go on the record, getting someone to explain. Yeah. If you look at the reports from the various observer missions over the years, you'll find they've asked that the electoral office take on a larger role, perhaps in voter education, because very often it was left to the political parties to interpret the electoral laws. There was also a lack of engagement in terms of explaining those laws, because you have amendments, you have changes, and the ordinary citizen, largely who might be interested in learning something, found it difficult to get information. It was just locked into the political system where each party has its own list, each party has its own interpretation. With all that I've said and what you've observed earlier, what would be your recommendations for, 1, the supervisory elections, 2, the electoral office, and 3, the voters list, in the context of, 1, should the supervisory elections be a full-time job, where that's your job? 2, in terms of the recommendations for public education, should it be properly staffed with a proper budget so that you have an ongoing program? Because you have elections in St. Kitts almost every 3 years. If you put in the context the Nevis Island election in the general scheme of things, you don't have both elections at the same time. So invariably, within a period of 3 years, 2.5 years or so, you have an election. And it has an impact on both islands any way you look at it. So your thoughts? I'm a bit long-winded, but your thoughts on those issues?
Those are loaded questions. But let me say first, I think the current supervisor is making an attempt at the public education part of it. I think he writes articles in the media about the whole process. Okay, a bit intellectual, I find, but it could be broken down into more simpler layman terms, and they could be shorter. But overall, the objective should be that people go about things like registration and that sort of thing in the correct way. They follow the law.
Well, let me ask you.
Where they're supposed to be.
Let me interrupt you for a minute then, just for argument's sake. What are the rules about registration, as far as you know them?
The rules about registration?
Yes, as far as you are aware.
Well, I have not delved into them, but I know, for instance, that
no, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, right? It's not an. It's not an interrogation. It's just that I'm just trying to make a point that you may say something like, follow the rules of registration, but if a lot of people don't know what those rules are, and they're waiting on their party to say to them, the party may need you in constituency number 2. All right? So the party says, I need you in constituency number 2. This is what you're going to do. Don't worry, we got you. We got your back. You don't have to worry.
When you do things like that, if those things are against the law, then they should be challenged. I would.
But do you know the law, though? When you're you're raising another question. Do you know the law?
Right. And I suspect at one point or the other, both parties use that kind of corruption of the system to their advantage. Okay? What needs to happen is some clear, again, some supervisor of elections and electoral office who are independent, who follow the law, and who has an outlook of being fair and democratic. Okay? Anything that flies in the face of fairness and democracy, right, corrupts our electoral system. Remember, the prime thing is universal adult suffrage. One man, one vote. Okay? Anything that dilutes that, right, is anti-democratic. So when you have, for instance, in St. Kitts, I think in Nevis as well, boundaries that are obviously out of whack. That is not being fair and democratic.
But
And that
what's
should be changed. And
what is so hard about?
I always question, right? If everybody says that the boundaries should be changed, why are they so difficult to change?
That was the question I was going to ask you. That was my question.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously the answer is both sides want an advantage. And that is where an independent, a fair electoral system comes into play. Okay? Because, somebody has to decide, And to me, it's not fair that the incumbent government has the upper hand in deciding, well, where the boundaries are going to be. I mean, there has to be a better way of making sure that the boundaries are fair, that they are equal, as far as possible, equal in numbers, so that our representative system should make more sense. I personally believe in the proportionate representation system, okay, because then, obviously the majority, the wishes of the majority are upheld, as opposed to the first past the post system when you can have all sorts of intricacies and you end up winning on a minority of the votes. To me, that is anti-democratic as well. Okay.
But you raise another issue now. In terms of the constituency system, you can lose by a vote. Speaking in terms of how it works, one vote. The last election, someone won by 4 votes, right?
Right.
So, what in terms of the reform you may have in mind? What room should there be now for someone who may have lost by 1 vote in terms of resources, access to resources, being a part of bipartisan committees, parliamentary committees? Because I'm looking at the bigger picture, no pun intended, but I think we have to look at the system in terms of how best can it serve everyone if you don't even know the rules, you don't even know the laws, you're not aware of what it really says. You're going to lawyers to interpret it for you, and a lawyer is on both sides, prosecuting and defending.
Well, and not only that, one of the things we don't normally recognize, but which is definitely there, the laws can be bad. People can design laws to suit whatever, okay? And it does not necessarily mean because it's in law, it's right, okay? I mean, the history is awash with cases where they had bad laws. I mean, slavery was lawful, for instance, okay? So what I'm saying is, what the bigger picture really should be, right? That we should aim for a democratic federation where the wishes of the majority are respected. This our system right now is winner take all. So even if you win by 1 vote, you win, okay? And well, the other 49%, too bad, okay? 51% said this, and that this is the way it's going to be. And the 49% that objected, they're shut out, okay? And I'm saying that it should not be that way, right? And that's why I believe in the proportionate representation system, okay? Because it just seems unfair that somebody could win by 1 vote or by 1% of the electorate. And, for the next 5 years, it's as if the wishes of the minority are just not respected. It's trampled on. And you see it all the time. You see it at play in our parliament, for instance. I mean, the opposition, it's like they have no voice. So all they do is all they feel that they have to do is oppose and curse. There's no attempt at a unified approach to government, right? And the ruling party can't have all the answers. As a matter of fact, I personally believe this ruling party is bereft of ideas. Right? They're lucky that they made good policies in place to continue, right? But certainly no one party has all the answers. And for the life of me, I can't understand why it has to be that, the opposition is just ignored, shut out, and the governing party politicians just do as they like. You know, it's to me that's a recipe for, well, I mean, we've progressed with the system, but you know, we could have been so much further ahead had we wielded a better system.
Do you think though there's any serious will for that system that you're describing, one where, you know, you think it's above board, you can double check, you can verify, you have the knowledge, you have the experience, you have the institutions that work, and being a citizen has the same rights whether or not you are a winner or a loser in the context of the constituency election. Do you think there's a strong feeling that this has to happen and people really want that to happen, or is just perhaps a few people may say that?
That's the whole point. Not right now, right? I think our citizens are on board with this political patronage system, okay? Whereby, well, whoever in power dishes out to their supporters, and, well, whatever crumbs remain, the others can have. It works. It works for some, okay? And the other side just sit and wait their turn to get in and do the same thing, right? And I'm saying that how can you develop a country with just half of it seriously working towards developing that country? That makes absolutely no sense. But it suits the governing party, which holds the power, to do that sort of thing. When they're in opposition, they scream against it, right? But as soon as they get in there, they do the same thing, right? And that's why I always say it's leadership that counts. Somebody has to say enough is enough and stop it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a never-ending cycle, right? And that's my point. I am saying that that is why I'm passionate about governance, because if you have good governance, things like that would be relegated to the dust heap, right? Because that would obviously not be the correct way to do things. I was hoping that economics would have succeeded where politics failed, in that there would be so much jobs and opportunities in the private sector that people would be less inclined to accept this political patronage system that we have, okay? But that hasn't happened yet, okay? And in the absence of that, the only thing that can bring about a change is some kind of strong leadership. You know, I listened to part of the Prime Minister's discourse last night at the town hall meeting, right? And you get the same thing, a lot of transactional stuff. Did this for you for so many and that sort of thing. You know, and that is what he knows. Okay, and I don't see him actually changing that sort of that type of politics, because as far as he's concerned, it's what brought him to power. It's what has re-elected him time and time again. Well, why change it if it's working for him? But that's the point. It's working for him and for a minority of our citizens, but it's not working for everybody. We should try to make it work for everybody. Okay, and so that's why. You know, I'm saying unless we have some leader out there who has the vision and the ideas to galvanize people to say, well, this is the better way, and follow through on it, okay? We're going to be just plodding along as usual, everything as usual, right? I don't know. We've managed to do well with it, okay? But my point is we could do so much better. There's absolutely no reason why it has to be like this, right? All it takes is a good leader to come forward. Unfortunately, I don't see any on the horizon because, you know, the younger ones who are not tuned out just seem intent on following the footsteps of the examples they currently have, you know,
all right,
which are not good examples.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for fielding a few questions. The phone lines are pretty quiet, so I engaged you a bit. I think you answered your own question, though, in the end, because if the majority of people are happy with the system as it stands, they really take all system, then it's you who are in the minority and not the majority. Let's go back to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Call you live and on the air, and a very good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Bacchus.
Good morning, sir. Halfway through this morning.
Half a tree, it's raining and windy.
Yeah, that was the prediction. That was the prediction.
No, Mr. Bacchus, and thank God for the rain anyhow. Mr. Bacchus, for over the years, and I listened to the call and he lamenting, and he confessed that he ain't seen a leader on the horizon. He seems to be having a hopeless case scenario. But we have to keep hope alive, Mr. Bacchus. But I don't vex with him, because you see, Mr. Bacchus, when you had the Federation going into not the Federation, think its name is going into independence. You had leaders in government and in opposition coming together to really draft the Constitution. So Limo, he actually born down here in the parish, St. Thomas's. Went to the school here with the cross in Middle Island, where they have the Anglican Church now, temporarily. But he submitted a white paper, and it in the place of strife. And I, over the past weeks and months, I've been looking at Sir Limo's vision for the country. And today we are grappling with Nevis and think it's having two elections. Two elections. Local election for Nevis, federal election. And this, to me, personally, is really causing some concern. Because from experience, the politicians, they only get busy and active close to an election, whether it's the Nevis Island election or the federal election. And I, for one, believe that St. Kitts should have their own island government. When I look from a constituency point of view, right here in my little community, even to have a mayor draft the Constitution, even to have a mayor, somebody to look after the interests of the community. Mr. Bacchus, I went to look for a plot of land for my sister this morning with a surveyor. And no road here, trees high. Land that is allotted to people. You have no access. I mean, Nevis have an island government. They have, at the federal level, they have. I believe the time has come, and I must lay the blame squarely at the feet of Dr. Douglas and the Labour Party in the past. Why? They had a popular vote back in the 90s, 1995 or somewhere. All eight, somewhere beyond that. That was the mood, because you see, whereas they was critical of the same constitution and was always referring to Sir Limo draft constitutional thing bidding in the place of strife. They did nothing. Absolutely nothing to correct it for all these years. And that caller, he must know. You could hear the hopeless case he has, because all these years he realized have gone wasted. And today he is leveling accusation at this federal government. But he needs to level it where it's supposed to be. And so you have here government composition for leaders from the People's Action Movement. And I look at the constituency level. And I believe if we had a local government, a lot of matters could have been addressed.
Caller,
in St. Kitts.
Caller, could I ask you a question?
Yes, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, my question has to do with your suggestion of a local government for St. Kitts. I've heard people say that already. How would that work? Would you have what? You'd have a St. Kitts Island administration, Nevis Island administration, then you have a federal administration. How do you see that working?
It would work perfect, Mr. Bacchus. It would work perfect because, then you have to bring things on a level. Right now, Nevis have 2 elections. And as I said already, and you know it, there's always an advantage when an election coming for whoever, because they get busy doing a lot of things to really put themselves in good standing with the voters. Here we have one shot. Look at the roads down here. I've been asking for roads for these 3 housing projects. You see, and people are vexed. People vex. That's why you have no confidence. The Bible says, put not your hope and confidence in man. Put it in God. Let it do what they like with you. Put it in God. Because, they're in opposition, as the caller said. They say a lot of things, they do a lot of things. And when they get there, just like in 90-something, find all kind of fault with the Constitution. And did nothing. Did nothing. So, really and truly, as the Bible says, if only in this life we only had hope, we would be like most men, miserable. And I don't want to be miserable, because there is hope. A hope in Jesus Christ. You see? So, I am not going to stay here, and I'm not going to lose hope and lose faith. All you could do, pray for these politicians. Pray for them. Pray for them, not to say, well, you will see a leader on the horizon. There must be somebody who could come forward. There's always hope for somebody to come forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Bacchus.
And thank you once again, sir, for your contribution for today. We're going to have to bring you the headline news. We're hoping that Parliament would have started. It hasn't started as yet, so we'll go to the news and then we'll join Parliament in progress. And just to the caller, even as you say, you have to pray for the politicians. Do remember, the politicians are praying for us as well. Do have a good day.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, FamCare, Subway, Carib Brewery, and CNC Trading.
Come to Subway and eat fresh. Try our daily specials. That's right, we have a special every day at Subway. Come in today and eat fresh. Stay healthy.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need